I want to give you guys something really cool today. I am Hans Albrecht. Thanks for stopping by. I was a pro market maker for 15 years and an income fund manager for another decade after that, a whole bunch of income funds. Income is the game, and I'm glad you came. And I'm here to help you invest and trade better with options. As always, it's your trade, your responsibility. None of this is financial advice. If you're okay with that, let us move on. I'm going to show you a really cool chart today. And there's one line in there that I've been talking about for months. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's very important for you to understand in terms of the way that you are framing, not just investing and trading, framing your life in general. I honestly am not exaggerating. It is that important for you to understand. Also, on the right side of the screen here, you are looking at the free risk gauge that you are going to get. You can keep it in the corner of your screen as you're planning your trading, your investing, etc. And it's going to give you something that market makers look for all the time on the income side of things, which is stability. Stability is so important, and it can be fleeting and you can succumb to the noise of the environment. It is always important to understand that there are environments where you should be stepping on the gas, and there are environments where you should be, frankly, just sitting on your hands. So it's easy to get. You've got the QR code on the screen here. You can take your phone, use the camera app, take a picture of this. You'll see that it should say options with Hans. It's going to take you to my webpage. You can drop me a hello in there, and I'm going to send this thing to you, and it is yours to use for free. So back to what we're talking about here, we want to be thinking about AI very differently. And we're going to talk about GitHub and the stars that OpenClaw got. I remember seeing this in December thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, this is insane what's starting to happen here. And it's just gotten worse and worse in terms of the speed at which this is happening. And it's starting to feed into everything in our world. I promise you, this is going to be relating to everything in our world, right? So what you are looking at right here is a chart from starhistory.com. So every line of it represents one of the most successful open source projects in the history of software. So React, built by Facebook, Linux, built by Linus Torvalds. These are not small projects. They were very important. You've heard people talk about them, probably at least Linux. They're the foundations of the modern internet, right? And they all grew on kind of the same curve. You can kind of see how they grew over time, gradually and then steadily, and then sort of that long climber over many years. Now, look at that red line there. That is not a typo. It is not an error. That's OpenClaw, an agent framework. And it didn't follow anybody else's curve. It's not even a curve. It's literally parabolic. It's perpendicular to the bottom. It's a straight line up, at least visually from here. It's slightly off straight, I'm pretty sure. But it went vertical, and it took weeks, not years. That kind of adoption rate used to be impossible for things. You couldn't get that many developers coordinating that fast. And what it is, it's interest, it's encouragement, it's usage. It basically gives you an idea of a kind of adoption that we're seeing out there, right? And one of the most important things that people miss is when they look at this chart, they think, wow, AI is really growing fast. And what they should be thinking is, and it's just getting started, okay? It's very difficult for some reason for most people to think in exponential terms. They think linearly, right? We're sort of programmed that way to sort of look at what's happened recently, that kind of bias, that recency bias, and think that that's what's going to continue. We find it difficult. That's why people like Elon Musk and other people out there have this ability to kind of look into what is really possible and think in a very non-linear way. And you have to start doing that right now. And so right now, AI still needs humans in the loop, humans to prompt it, humans to review it, at least up until recently, humans to deploy it. That's why even the red line on that chart, as dramatic as it looks, is still a human speed adoption curve, right? Think of that as still human speed. But what happens when AI can start to build its own tools? What happens when AI agents are writing code, they're testing it, they're shipping it, they're improving it, they're transacting amongst each other, they're doing things, they're creating communities. They're already happening. There are experiments out there in Minecraft and other places where they've got AIs basically creating their entire worlds, creating artwork, and really acting like human beings. It's absolutely bizarre, but we're not far from agentic swarms that are going to be sort of everywhere, right? So think of from the transaction layer, if you saw some of my videos recently, the transaction layer is we're going from a billion people billions of people who transact to trillions, right? Think of agents as individuals who are going to be transacting. And when this exponential adoption curve gets even steeper, believe it or not, it's going to look just like a straight wall. So I've spent 25 years in finance. I've watched markets price in revolutions slowly and then all at once, in the dot-com era, the mobile era. Every single time people waited for more clarity. And if you did that, you missed the move, right? You got to jump on these things. So this is not a sector rotation. This is not a theme trade at this point, okay? This is a structural shift in how the entire economy is going to operate. AI is not a tool that some industries use. It's going to be the new infrastructure layer that everything runs on, right? Electricity didn't just help factories, it rewired civilization. AI is going to do the same thing. It's going to work its way into everything physical as well. But it's going to do it faster. It has fingers in every single industry simultaneously. It's a very blanket blanket technology that reaches out to everywhere. We already created everything that's required for AI in a sense back in the 90s with the dot-com and getting people online and getting the internet going for folks and speed and making things speed up faster and getting people on smartphones and Apple and BlackBerry, et cetera, et cetera. We've already done all the hard work. Now it is all there for AI to exploit. And if you're still sizing your AI exposure or your AI expectation the way you have in the past, you're thinking in blue lines, right? You're on the blue line here. You want to be much, much closer to the red line. And what does that mean for your portfolio? Well, what does it look like? It means you got to stop saying, well, is AI a bubble? Are stocks going to go up and down? Are they going to get overheated and come back down? Of course they are. But you need to start asking what breaks if AI keeps compounding at this rate, which it's going to do. Because the second question is going to lead you somewhere much more useful for you in your life, for your career, for what you want your kids to do, for maybe where you want to live, et cetera, et cetera. It means you're going to look at every position in your portfolio or your trading portfolio that you hold and ask, is this business a toll booth on the AI build out, or is it standing in the way of it? Right? Those are very different risk profiles. Companies that process payments for AI agents, companies that provide the compute, that own the data pipes, those are the compounding assets in a red line world. Companies that rely on human labor at scale for repeatable cognitive tasks, that's a different conversation. And so you have to think differently about volatility as well. In that red line world, volatility isn't a problem to avoid. It's the environment you live in, right? It's not a bug, it's an absolute feature of things because we don't know. We don't know so much. I talked about this 8-10 months ago. I said, listen, we're going to get to a point where analysts aren't going to know how to price things. We're not going to know where the trajectory of the stocks are. We don't know necessarily. Look at what's happening in SaaS. We have no clue. Cheap doesn't mean anything anymore. And I'm going to show you something in a moment. How do we know where Adobe should trade when we don't even know what their business looks like 2 or 3 years from now, right? These are absolute sea changes in how we have to look at things. And I'm going to show you a little bit down here. So the first step is really understanding where the risk is, not where you think it is, where it actually is based on the positions you're holding, how you're behaving in this environment. Now, I was saying, if you take a look down here, you've got to understand who's disruptible. Everyone's saying Meta is really, really cheap. Here I am a month ago saying Meta's going to sub 500. Meta was $647 at the time. I said Meta's done. I said Microsoft's done. Microsoft's also dropped about, 8 or 9% since then, maybe almost 10%. The moats are crumbling. Moats are drying up. Big moats are becoming puddles. And you've got to understand who's still okay. Now, Google dropped a little bit this week. I think they're okay, but they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater to some extent. But the tech world is very, very challenged right now because it is in the eye of the storm, particularly on the digital and coding sides of things, right? So I want you to jump in there, grab my newsletter, subscribe, get my free widget that's going to start to get you to think about risk in terms of where's the volatility, where's the sentiment, right? When you're an options trader, or even if you're not an options trader, if you're a stock trader, if you're a futures trader, it doesn't matter. You are a volatility trader. You have to understand volatility better. You've got to understand there are environments where you do this and there are environments where you do that. You can break the rules sometimes, but if you constantly break them, you're going to get nipped in the butt one of those days. So if we take a look at something like this, This is what I'm talking about. So we have to understand the words cheap, right? And people reach out to me. They go, "Well, I don't understand. The numbers are great. Look at this. This is not a company. Adobe's not a company that's in trouble. Look at the fantastic numbers. It has fantastic numbers. But that today's number is yesterday's news. It has nothing to do with reality. It can help. Of course, there's financial health and good balance sheets are going to help people transition through this period. And maybe they figure it out. Maybe Adobe's a double at some point, but we don't know. And the market is expressing this by saying, we don't care about your multiple. So we look here, it says tech multiples are the lowest that they've been in 7 years, right? So for a lot of this reads as tech is on sale. Buy the dip in anything that's been crushed. But before you do that, make sure you understand why they're cheap, right? Is it a discount temporarily, or is it a permanent re-rating? We give a multiple to a company when we kind of see, well, 15, 20, 25 years from now, what am I willing to pay for that cash flow? If we don't know where it's going to be, then that changes the game completely, right? So these businesses are under serious pressure right now. And I've been saying that this year it's going to be very, very difficult for tech. I'd much rather be in the physical things. The topic for another video, which I've talked about in the past, I'd much rather be there. So the barrier that made SaaS so defensible was complexity, right? I want you to understand a little bit about why it's a challenge. Building a project management tool, let's say CRM, some sort of vertical platform, what did that take? It took a serious team. It took serious money. That kept competitors out. It kept pricing power in. Smart people had a defendable moat around what they did. And there was a significant amount of money to put into that, but it was worth it, right? Because you were able to sell this to millions of people and make money off of that. That's great, right? You make a movie for $1 billion, but if you get enough people going, you're going to make your money back. So that's the idea. That's no longer the barrier, right? That might have taken 18 months, millions and millions, hundreds of $1 millions to create. They had to prototype it. Anybody can build that now. Anybody. That's not an exaggeration. If you put the time, I'm not saying you can build a sales force in an hour, but as we see these tools get better and better, you have to always think of where are we going. Don't think of where the puck is. Think of where the puck is going. And in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be literally mind-boggling what AI can do and what it can create in the snap of your fingers. And so that's really important. Does that mean Adobe is disappearing? No, maybe it does fine, maybe it doesn't do fine, but it probably means margins are going to be compressed, right? So companies are going to have to adapt. What does that mean? Well, volatility and uncertainty is probably here to stay. And the hyperscalers, your Amazons, your Microsofts, your Googles, which I loved, I kind of loved the toll booth idea at one point, right? If you guys recall. And then I said, around 525 on Microsoft, I said, wait a minute, this is not the true story here. These companies are going to stand still. But the shift they're making is very significant. They spent the last 20 years basically running high margin, relatively low CapEx businesses. Now they're committing hundreds of billions of dollars in capital to stay relevant. They're buying GPUs, they're building models, they're racing to own the infrastructure layer of the next era. That's a very different business than what investors owned a few years ago. High CapEx, more uncertainty, longer payback periods. And I can guarantee you there are some difficult conversations going on in the boardrooms of even some of these big companies. I guarantee you there are some worried people because things are changing. So the relative PE chart, that's dynamics, right? Maybe part of it that you're seeing here is that, well, okay, some of the other parts of the market that were ignored for a long time have come up. We saw that. We saw staples go bananas. We saw materials and industrials and all kinds of things do really well. And energy's done well recently. So part of that is that other things have done well as tech has weakened more. So does that mean you avoid tech? No, it means you've got to get specific. The winners in this transition are going to be the companies, in my view, at least for now, until we get a Meta down to 350, $400 or a Microsoft down to $300 or whatever it is. The companies that are going to win are going to be the ones that I know are going to have business, the infrastructure that AI runs on. Things that have to do with compute, with energy, the pipes, the bits and pieces behind the scenes. The losers are going to be the companies that were really just renting out access to complexity that no longer exists, right? Think of that. The moats were complexity, investing in certain things that were digital and software. That's not there anymore. And so this valuation chart is telling you something, but make sure you're reading it right. It's not necessarily that things are super, super cheap. I think to some extent they've maybe normalized a bit, and there could be a decent amount of downside. So look, I'm not here to tell you to go all in on anything or all out on anything in particular. I want you to look at this chart and start to think like the red line. And take a look at my risk scanner. It's a tool that's going to help you see things the way that I see things, right? I use other things as well, but let me give you this one wonderful little tool, and it's actually one of the coolest. So I want you to know where stability is and where it isn't, because sometimes I have an indicator that hit a 94.67 today. I've actually never seen it that high before. I've actually never seen it that high. So there is a lot of fear coming from different directions, and a lot of the time you don't know. Equities tend to be a little slow to the party, and you can see they're starting to react to it now. We've been selling out lots and lots of puts in the membership. So if you're interested, grab that scanner, and we'll keep in touch. And if you're interested, check out Turbo Trader Pro, check out Leaps Trader. It's where we talk about all this stuff. These are just a few quotes. I've been warning people for 2 months that this is about to get ugly, and there are some things that keep me in that camp, thinking that there are some real challenges, even if Iran is solved, sooner rather than later. So on that note, everybody, be safe. Have a wonderful weekend. It is your money, so try to trust people who understand how this stuff works. And we will see you next week. I'm going to try to do a couple free shows next week, so make sure you pay attention, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so that you know when I'm going to go on. Sometimes it's just suddenly I just feel like talking about something interesting, and I do it. So you want to really see that when it happens. So everybody be well, and we'll see you next time.